My objective in this presentation is to put to rest the long-held misunderstanding that the federal government gives out money for people to start a business. I first noticed this in the early to mid-90s when infomercials really took off. Over 20 years later, I'm still breaking the news to people that government startup money is a unicorn. Anyway, thank you for being here. We all have a limited number of hours every day, and I greatly appreciate the time you're investing. I'll do my best to provide you with value. Okay, let's roll. I like to begin every workshop with this quote from Tom Peters. Professional development is often overlooked in organizations, either because of budget or time constraints, and it's unfortunate. We all need to keep learning and stay fresh. So whether your company is paying you to spend time watching this presentation, or if you're doing it on your own, I'm glad you're along for the ride. A good way to begin this conversation is by establishing a common understanding of what a grant is and what grants are for. This definition from the Government Accountability Office covers it succinctly. But just to be clear, we're not talking about student grants to go to college or to a trade school. We're only talking about program grants competitively awarded to organizations such as state and local governments, educational institutions, and nonprofit organizations. And before going further, we should spend a couple minutes talking about what grants are not. There are a lot of misconceptions about federal grants, due in large part to those infomercials and now online advertising, claiming that grants can pay for all sorts of expenses. Grants are for activities and programs that serve a public purpose and have a public benefit. Housing the homeless, improving literacy, expanding utilities in rural areas, improving transportation infrastructure such as roads, runways, and ports, grants like that. The federal government does not make grants to start a business, to pay your bills, to retire your debt, or to buy your house. And you don't, or you shouldn't, want it to make those grants. Federal grants come with a lot of oversight. If the federal government made business startup grants, it wouldn't simply cut a check and disappear. Your assigned program officer would be watching you every step of the way. The last thing a new entrepreneur wants is someone in DC monitoring their startup. Who knows better how to run your business, you or a federal employee? Do you really want to explain to a federal employee who has probably never started a business, taken a risk, or made payroll why your sales aren't hitting your initial projections? And what help could they provide you if you requested? Program officers are not in the business of business. The oversight attached to federal grants wouldn't be worth it to someone wanting to start a new business. By contrast, if you have a bank loan and your business needs technical assistance, they can put you in touch with advisors, often at little to no cost. It's in the bank's interest to make sure you're successful, so you'll repay the loan. Yes, the government makes grants to individuals. In addition to grants for students, there are grants to individuals working at universities or institutions who are performing research, typically medical, scientific, or technology research. And yes, the government makes grants to small businesses. This is most often handled through Small Business Innovation Research Grants, or SBIR. SBIR grants are highly competitive. They fund technology research and development on issues important to the federal government. For example, robotics, lasers, food preservation, etc. The small businesses are encouraged to develop their technology so it can be commercialized for profit after SBIR funding is over. The federal government is not opposed to making grants to individuals or businesses. When those grants are made, it's to people or businesses with significant experience in their field. They aren't throwing money at unproven startups where the odds of success are no better than a coin toss. Does the federal government provide grants to start a business? No. And we'll illustrate this in the next few slides by looking at data available at grants.gov. When I started this project, I went to grants.gov and searched for grants available to both individuals and to small businesses. Those are the two groups that would apply for business startup money if possible. Of the more than 3,700 grants between July 2005 and April 2015, the vast majority went to small businesses, largely due to the SBIR and other research programs. Here, this chart shows the grants targeted at individuals or small businesses by the purpose of the funding. Again, we see the majority of funding is for research, and note that new business startup is not a funding category. Finally, let's look at which departments are providing grants to individuals and small businesses. NIH provides the most funding, and this ties in with the research grant data in the previous slide. 78% of grants to individuals and small businesses came from two Health and Human Services agencies, NIH and ACF. The 14% in the other category is a mishmash of departments that made less than 100 grants each over the 10-year time frame. No matter how you run the numbers, there are simply no grants for people that want to start a new business. If there were, they would show up in the annual spending data. But what about the Small Business Administration? This disclaimer on their website answers the question. So where can you find money to launch your new business? Well, the usual places. Your family and friends, your savings and retirement accounts, a second mortgage, a second or a third job, investors, crowdfunding, a bank loan, or even selling stuff. And by selling stuff, you might be interested in following Gary Vaynerchuk on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. His ID is @GaryV, and that's spelled V-E-E, so @GaryV. And listen to him talk about the 2017 Flip Challenge. It's all about either finding items at thrift stores or discount warehouse stores, and then turning around and selling them online for a profit, or even taking stuff that's around your home and selling them online. Items around your house that you may not have used for a while, or stuff you don't need anymore. I mean, we all have a lot of things lying around our house that we can sell. And so that's what that's all about. Here's the bottom line. Free government money is a myth. It's just that simple. Don't believe any of those wild claims that, quote unquote, you can get a grant for whatever. If you want to start a business, you have to put in the work. There is no pot of money available from Uncle Sam.
For more tips on getting government grants, visit the website in the description box below.